June 18, 1815. A muddy field in Belgium would decide the fate of Europe. For over a decade, Napoleon Bonaparte had conquered nation after nation, building an empire that stretched across the continent. Kings trembled at his name. Armies fell before his tactical genius. He seemed unstoppable. Until a coalition of British, Prussian, Dutch, and German forces gathered to end his reign once and for all. The Duke of Wellington, Britain's greatest military commander, stood on a ridge near the village of Waterloo with 68,000 men. Across the valley, Napoleon commanded 72,000 of France's finest soldiers. The French emperor was confident. He defeated the British before, and he would do it again. Gentlemen, Napoleon told his marshals that morning, we will sleep in Brussels tonight. The battle began at 11:30 a.m. with a thunderous French artillery barrage. Cannonballs tore through British lines. Napoleon's cavalry charged again and again, waves of horsemen crashing against Wellington's infantry squares. The British held, barely. Men fell by the thousands. The ridge ran red with blood. Stand firm! Wellington shouted to his wavering troops. Every Englishman must hold his ground. For hours, the British absorbed punishment that would have broken any other army. Wellington's soldiers formed defensive squares, walls of bayonets that the French cavalry couldn't penetrate. Each charge was repelled, but at terrible cost. By late afternoon, Wellington's line was crumbling. Napoleon prepared his elite Imperial Guard, 10,000 veterans who had never been defeated, for the final crushing blow. If they broke through, the battle was lost, and Napoleon would march on to reclaim his empire. But Wellington had been buying time. 20 miles away, Field Marshal Blucher was racing toward the battlefield with 50,000 Prussian reinforcements. Napoleon's generals warned him the Prussians were coming, but the emperor refused to believe they could arrive in time. He was wrong. As the Imperial Guard marched up the ridge in perfect formation, drums beating, flags flying, confident of victory, two things happened. Wellington's surviving forces rose from where they'd been sheltering and unleashed devastating volleys at point-blank range. And on Napoleon's right flank, Prussian artillery opened fire. For the first time in their history, the Imperial Guard broke and ran. The Guard retreats! The cry spread panic through French ranks. Soldiers who had fought fearlessly all day suddenly realized they were surrounded. The army that had conquered Europe dissolved into chaos. Wellington, seeing the moment, stood in his stirrups and waved his hat forward. The whole line will advance! The British and Allied forces surged forward. The French army collapsed. By nightfall, Napoleon's grand empire lay shattered on a Belgian field. Napoleon fled back to Paris, but his time was finished. Within weeks, he surrendered to the British and was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena, where he would die 6 years later. The Battle of Waterloo cost over 47,000 lives in a single day, one of the bloodiest battles in European history. But it ended 23 years of nearly continuous war. Napoleon, who had seemed invincible, was finally defeated. Wellington became a legend, forever known as the man who beat Bonaparte. Britain emerged as Europe's dominant power, an empire upon which the sun never set. And in the English language, meeting your Waterloo became synonymous with final, decisive defeat. One muddy field, one long, brutal day, one battle that changed history forever. The British had won.